Hello everyone, very good evening and welcome to StudyIQ IAS English. My name is Abhishek Singh and in this lecture today we are going to discuss about the new aspect of ancient Indian history in which we are going to talk about the Central Asian invasions. And dear friends, this will be probably the first in the series of the recorded invasions from the Central Asian region to the Indian subcontinent. We will be trying to assess the various reasons behind it. We will be trying to understand the consequences thereof, and we will also try to understand that why and which type of invasions actually took place during that time period. Alright everyone, so let us join this session quickly and make it sure that as soon as you join the session you can just share this session with your friends also, so that they can also join it along with you. And let me tell you a very important thing, that in this session we are going to talk about the Central Asian advents of the Indo Greeks, Shakas, Kushanas, Parthians. So this is going to be the first part of the lecture where we will be talking about the Indo Greeks, alright, and in the subsequent parts we will be talking about the other dynasties as well. But before we could proceed, let me just discuss a very important thing with you, that here suppose if I am talking about the invasion of Central Asian kingdoms, okay, Central Asian kingdoms, always remember that the Central Asian kingdoms, right, if they were invading on the northwestern parts of India, why were they getting success? Why were they getting success each and every time? The reason being the weakness of the northwestern frontier defense preparations. So we can say that the rulers who were ruling in that area, they were not well equipped, they were not well prepared to contain or to face the invasions, face the wrath of the Central Asian invaders. So guys, similarly, just let me tell you one thing, that in case, suppose if you are preparing for the civil services examination, then you also need to be very well equipped, and we are actually trying our best to make you completely prepared for the 2024 civil services examination with the help of our P2I batches, right? In case if you are willing to start your preparations seriously, you must have a look on these batches. You can enroll yourself with this particular code ASR Live, and this code is going to give you a very substantial, very marginal cost, that is rupees 29,999. Now moving further to the topic. So emergence of the post-Mauryan states. Let us understand one thing, that the post-Mauryan kingdom we are talking about, basically after the Mauryan age was over around 185 BCE. In that time period, we saw the emergence of the local successors and the external successors. If we take this rough sketch of the subcontinent, here you will try to understand that here it was Patliputra, and Mauryan Empire was spreaded probably all over the subcontinent. Okay. However, if we are talking about the local successors, remember that they will be succeeding the Mauryan Empire in the southeast or centrally, right, or a central eastern parts, whereas the northwestern part, okay, the northwestern part, that will be basically covered by whom? That will be covered by, right, that will be covered by the adventing tribes or adventing groups. And who will be leading in the Deccan region? So guys, Deccan region, that will be led by the Satavahanas. And the Western India, that is the Malwa region, Gujarat region, etc., that will be led by the Shakas. And the westernmost part of this region, that will be led by the Parthians. Okay, the Parthians. Here also mostly the Indo Greek, Indo Greeks will be leading, and after the rule of Indo Greeks will be over, in this entire area, there will be the rule of the Kushanas. So Indo Greeks followed by Kushanas. Meanwhile, Shakas and Parthians will also create their kingdoms, but their kingdoms will not be as large as the kingdom of the Kushanas. Alright everyone, as far as the Kanvas and Satavahanas are concerned, let me tell you, the Kanvas and Satavahanas, they were not as big states or kingdoms as their predecessors or their Central Asian contemporaries. Okay, Satavahanas, this can be considered as a substantial state in the Deccan region, but when we talk about the all India level of expansion, then Satavahana, they made significant cultural contributions, significant political contributions, despite their relatively smaller size, I would say. That is why they are regarded as an important kingdom for sure, but their political expansion was not equatable to the political expansion of the Kushanas or the Shakas or the Parthians, etc. Alright everyone, so I hope you got an overall picture. Those who have not got the overall picture, so let me make it very clear to all of you that you have to consider this basic picture, right? That first of all, the Mauryans will be there. Mauryans will be there. Mauryans will be followed by the Postmodern. And in the Postmoderns, we have the two different branches. We have the Indian branch, Indian Postmodern rulers, and we have the Central Asian Postmodern rulers. Okay, and here, as I told you, that in Indian Postmodern rulers we have the Shung, followed by Kanv, and followed by Satavahan. And in the Central Asian Postmodern rulers we have the Indo Greeks, we have Sakas, Parthians, Parthians, and Kushanas. Alright, and Kushanas. Now, when we are talking about, the Indo Greek rulers, when we are talking about the Indo Greek rulers, just a second, okay. Here you can see that at the contemporary of the Mauryan Empire, the Indo-Greek rulers, when I am talking about the Indo-Greek, remember they are also known as the Greco-Bactrian kingdoms. Those who don't understand what is the meaning of Bactria, this Bactria is basically, you can see here, beside the region of northwestern Jammu and Kashmir, that means somewhere in the modern Balkh province of, modern Balkh province, this is the Balkh province of Afghanistan, okay, Balkh in Afghanistan. So the rulers actually ruled in that area, and later on they started to spread to the different parts. The question arises that how did this kingdom take shape, and what was the result of the formation of this kingdom. And if we try to understand about the origin of this kingdom, so let me make it very clear to all of you that you might have heard about the Seleucus, right? You might have heard about the Seleucus Nicator, and particularly Seleucus Nicator, who was the commander-in-chief of Alexander. After the death of Seleucus Nicator, his empire started fragmenting, right? And this fragmentation resulted into the formation of the smaller Greek kingdoms, okay, smaller Greek kingdoms, particularly in the northwest of the Hindu Kush mountain. After that, what happened? After that, let us come to the Asian side. In the Asian side, you are able to see there is a word called Scythia. This Scythia was basically indicative of the area or the region of the Scythian tribes. Scythian tribes. Okay. So these Scythian tribes, they were the nomadic and invading tribes. These nomadic and invading tribes, they used to continuously attack over the different parts of China. However, due to the construction of the Great Wall of China, they could not continue their raids into the Chinese land, and unfortunately they had to turn towards this side, turn towards the southwestern side. And in the southwestern side, who were living there? The Greco-Bactrian rulers were living there. The small kingdoms of the Greco-Bactrian rulers that they used to reside in the southwestern sides of the Scythians. Now, due to the continuous invasions caused by the Scythian kingdoms, the Indo Greeks were forced to move. They were forced to move on the side of Hindu Kush, and eventually they crossed the Hindu Kush and entered into the northwest of India. So remember the same point, that these all incidents are happening simultaneously when in India the decline of Mauryan period was going on. Therefore, when the Indo Greek rulers, they started entering into the Hindu Kush region, into the northwest of the Indus River, then the weak successors of Ashoka, they were unable to stop these Indo Greek invasions, and all these things are happening near about 200 BC, and it continued for at least 20-25 years. Got it? So that means when there was the death of the last Mauryan ruler Brihadath, then also India was facing the invasion on its northwestern frontier from the Indo Greek rulers. Okay, everyone. So this map makes it absolutely clear. You can see here that as per the descriptions given by the historians like Strabo, right? Historians like Strabo, or the different coins issued by the Indo Greek rulers. Not just that, a particular atlas, right? That is issued by the Western mans. So they try to indicate the probable area of the Indo Greek kingdoms, and we can see very clearly that the regions like Takshashila, the regions like Sagal, the regions such as Mathura, and as far as up to the Pataliputra, right? The influence of Indo Greeks, all right, that continued to expand into the Gangetic plains, and these influential raids from the Indo Greeks into the Gangetic plains, they affected everything in that area, including from the art and culture to the society, economy, and not just that, but also the technical advancements were made in both the regions, because certain technical advances were already known to Indians, but some other technical advances like the minting of scientific structural coins, proper coins to be call it, or like the manufacturing of the glass, right? These things we learnt from the advent of Indo Greeks. Similarly, the Indo Greeks, they learnt from us the arithmetic, by particular not arithmetic but the algebra. Apart from that, the knowledge of geometry, as well as the knowledge of astronomy, that also passed from India towards the Greek culture, right? Similarly, the stone polishing arts, that also became extensively common in this area of cultural synthesis between India and the Greek culture. All right. Now here, if we are moving further, we can see that some famous port sites like Simila or like Barigaza, basically the regions of modern Bombay and Bharuch in the Kutch region, right? So these areas which were the very famous seaports, in the southward direction, the Indo-Greek rule was spreaded up to the coastal areas of Maharashtra, ranging up to the modern Mumbai region. Similarly, in the eastern part, we can see the influence of the Indo-Greeks as far as up to the Saket and Patliputra region. However, their capital that was located at Sagal, that is in Sialkot in Pakistan, okay, and their another important city that used to be Takshila, Mathura, etc. Okay, everyone. Now moving further, when we talk about the Indo-Greeks, let me tell you exactly where did they live. So they lived exactly near the Oxus river in modern Afghanistan, where that area was known as the Bahlika or Bactria, right? The reason of their invasion I have already discussed with you, that they started invading. Why so? Because they were constantly facing the invasions from the Shakas. In fact, let me tell you that it is very easy to remember the sequence as well as the reason of invasion, of the different powers in India. So suppose if this is the region of India, okay, this is the region of India, and here we are having the current structure, and as we are aware that here in this area somewhere Scythians were living, and in this area Indo-Greeks were living. Then here Kushanas were living, and now here we have the Parthians. They were all living outside India. So how will the things start? So first of all, what happened? There was the construction of the Great Wall of China. The Great Wall of China that was constructed around 185 BC. Okay, and this construction of the Great Wall of China, this Scythians, they were invading on China repeatedly, but due to this wall of China, they could not continue and they decided to attack over the Indo-Greek regions. Then Indo-Greek regions, right, they were facing the attack, so they decided to jump towards the southeast, and eventually they crossed into the Indian subcontinent, and their kingdom was created at the first. So the first invader, the Indo-Greeks became the first invaders in India. However, the Sakas, they kept on following the Indo-Greeks continuously, and eventually they completely annexed the area of Indo-Greek kingdom, and this entire region became the Shaka region. Okay, then one after the other, different families of the Shakas, different groups of the Shakas, they started attacking on India. So the first, remember that point, okay, Remember that point. The first sequence of the Shaka invasion that will occur in modern Afghanistan. In modern Afghanistan. The second stream of the Shaka invasion will occur in the Punjab region. The third branch of the Shaka invasion will come deep down to the Mathura region. The fourth branch of the Shakas, they will be settling in the Malwa region. And the last branch of the Shakas will be settling in the Gujarat and Maharashtra region. So Afghanistan, Punjab, Mathura, Malwa and western coastal area. Okay, western coastal area. This is how the Shakas established their control on the entire western India. But they all will be replaced by whom? The Indo Greeks were replaced by Shakas, and the Shakas will be, right, Indo Greeks were replaced by Shakas, and the Shakas will be replaced by Kushanas. And who were the Kushanas? Kushanas were originally the part of the member of the Yuchi tribe, and they will be chasing the Shakas. So overall, what is the sequence? The sequence is that once again Kushanas will be the last, they will be the last to rule. Okay. So here the Kushanas will be completely covering this entire area. So let me show them in the different color of map. So they will be covering up this entire area. This entire area will be covered up by the Kushanas. Okay. This complete area will be covered by the Kushanas. So this is how the sequence will be going on. Now if I am talking about, the Indo Greeks today in this lecture, so as we can say, the Indo Greeks, they started to expand their influence up to the coastal and Magad region, as I told you, and the best example that we get, that is during the reign of Demetrius first, right, who was the son of the Greco-Bactrian king, right, Euthydemus first. He was the first to cross the Indus and cross the Hindu Kush and reach up to the banks of river Indus. Who was the first one? The Demetrius first was the first ruler of Indo-Greek clans to reach to the Indus river. Right. After that, Apollodotus will be the next one who will be the relative of Demetrius. However, the most famous ruler about the one who we talk about, he was a Menander, also known as the Milind. So if we talk about the Indo Greeks overall, we come to a conclusion that Indo Greeks created a small, or I would say a significant kingdom in India, but they could not provide the long reign of prosperity, long reign of stability in the Indian subcontinent. And at the same time, if we talk about their other contributions, then we find that within their small tenure on the Indian soil, they affected the Indian culture quite deeply. The few areas about which we are talking, the few areas which were affected by the Indo-Greek culture quite deeply, those areas included what? Those areas included the effects of the Indo-Greek culture or Indo-Greek contacts. So those areas included the military, these included the science and technology. These areas included the warfares, and these areas also included the cultural exchange. So if we are talking about the use of various garments like long coats, or knee high boots, or the buttoned jackets, or the stitched cloth for males and females. These things were actually shared culturally with the Greek connection in India. Similarly, if we are talking about the warfare, the use of mounted archers, with the light bows and arrows, this was actually an art that was introduced by the Greek invasion. In field of science and technology, the knowledge about the horoscope, that was actually inspired from the Greek astrology that was quite developed. However, remember that India had the practice of astronomy, whereas the Greeks had the practice of astrology. So India gifted them the astronomical operations, which was much more scientific, but India got from the Greeks the astrological predictions, which were, I would say, at best pseudoscience. Pseudoscience, because it mimics the actions, it tries to emulate the similar steps as that of science, but I don't find it very much relevant when it comes to the scientific proof or scientific explanations. Got it? In the military, the protective headgear, headgears such as the helmets, etc. Headgears or helmets, etc. These things were introduced by the Greek armies. Similarly, the toe stirrups, right, or the horseback setup. So that entire setup of fighting a war over the horseback, that was actually introduced by the Greek invasion, because Indians were acquainted of the horses, no doubt about it, of course, but Indians utilized the horses in the form of the chariot drivers rather than mounting the horse directly or riding the horse directly to fight a war. So that is what we can say, that is how we can say the Greeks had affected the Indian culture quite significantly. Alright everyone. Now moving further, if we look at the spread of the Indo-Greek kingdom, we can understand it very well that Indo-Greek kingdoms were spreaded as we discussed, primarily in the northwestern parts of the subcontinent. However, their influences were as far as up to these areas, but not permanently, just for some period of time. All right everyone. Now moving further here, right, if I am talking about the next part, so let me tell you one thing, that in this next part, the Indo Greeks, they were actually described in different historical connections, and here we can see that around the 1st century BC, we get the evidences near Mathura. Particularly, the place is called as the Maghera inscription. You can remember this name for the examination purpose. This Maghera inscription provides us the information about the influence of the Indo-Greeks near Mathura. Similarly, if we talk about the Miranda's inscription, so in Pakistan region, we find the description called as the Bazaar inscription. Bazaar inscription. So that also provides the valuable information related to the Indo-Greeks. Okay. So there are two famous inscriptions which we need to remember for the exam purpose, the Maghera inscription and the Bazaar inscription. Maghera and the Bazaar inscription. Okay. Now, talking about the Miranda particularly, we all are aware that Miranda is famous for the very well-known book which is written in the question answer format and compiled by the Buddhist monk Nag Sen. That book was called as Milind Panha or Milind Panho, which is in the Pali language, and it consists of the question answers related to the understanding of the Buddhist philosophy discussion which took place between Miranda and Acharya Nag Sen. So this conversation led to the conversion of Miranda into the Buddhist religion. Okay. So this is why Miranda became an integral part of our culture, our history, and you can see this picture of the coin where he is wearing a hat like structure, probably made up of the metal, and it is having some decorated items as well, right. So this is clearly visible that they used to wear this short structure, right, short heighted dresses somewhat similar to the typical Greek attire, and the inscription was also using the Greek, right, the Greek script. The Greek script was being used. All right. Now, some other evidences are there. You can see these are all the different types of coins, issued by the different rulers, and it is surprising because these coins, they contained the images of Vishnu, Shiva, sun god, that is Surya, Buddha, and also the god of moon, right. So these things, they try to indicate what? They try to indicate that the Greek traditions, they had been imported into India mostly in the form of structural art, but the cultural features of India, they were accepted by the Indo-Greeks. For example, the religion of India, the culture of India, the essence of India, that was actually absorbed by the Greeks who settled here. And in fact, there is a description which is mentioned in the Amaravati Stoop in Telangana, in Andhra Pradesh. That description provides us the information that probably a group of 30,000 Buddhist monks had come from all over, from the Central Western Asian parts of the Indo-Greek regions as far as up to Amaravati. Okay. So all these things, they indicate what? They indicate that the Central Asian contacts, they deeply enriched our culture. They led to the expansion of the Buddhist influence to the outer parts. They affected the art, culture and sculptures, etc. But at the same time, they also learnt a lot of things in India as well. For example, adopting the culture of India, accepting the religion of India, and getting an organized form of the worship system from the Indian cultural practices. All right, everyone. So here we can say that these areas, right, or these features, they determined the existence of Indo-Greeks in a very important manner of our history. In the next lecture, we will be talking about the Shakas, the Kushanas. Both the tribes are related to each other. They are probably the most influential foreign tribes who would be ruling over India, and we will also try to understand the growth of feudal system. How did it start? What was the reason behind it? How did the Kushan and Shaka rule contribute? How did it contribute to the growth of feudal system? What is the history of the land grants? How does it relate to the modern system of revenue, everything we will be covering up in the next lecture. Till then, make it sure that you, if you are actually preparing for the civil services examination, you can simply join these batches which are going to close the admissions on 31st of July. Remember this date, it's very, very important, especially if you are willing to take the admissions in the evening batches. You just have to use this code ASR live, because here the batches are available in the English and Hindi, and you are going to get a lot of benefits. For example, suppose if the prelims examination is a problem for you, then we are offering the comprehensive preparation as well as coverage of the GS syllabus, along with the success in prelims program, the SIP program, which is the guarantee of your success in the prelims, given that you are exactly doing what you are being asked to do. Okay, so make it sure that you take the benefit of this opportunity, which is available on 31st of July only, right? So make it sure that do get admissions before that. Now, thank you so much for watching it, guys. In case if you want the content of this class, you can download the content, or you can simply avail the content on my Telegram group, which is available through this QR code or through this particular address. So guys, that's all from my side. Thank you so much for watching it. Take care. Bye-bye and Jai Hind.